SmartView is an Excel add-in. If SmartView is installed and enabled, the user will see a new ribbon to control the program settings. In this section, I will teach how to use the SmartView template to retrieve and submit information. As the template run macros, it's important to enable them. The template has 5 macros that the user could run from the home page. The first macro is used to create connection to the application and financial reporting. To use this macro, it is essential to add on cell C2 the name of the application, on cell C3 the server name, on cell E3 the cluster name where the application is located. Review section 6 for further detail on how to find out the server and cluster. The second macro needs to be executed when the template is open. It sets variables used by the retrieve and submit macro. The third and fourth macro will work the same way. The macro will copy the information to a new sheet, create an ad hoc, and submit or retrieve the information. The fifth macro will look for the sheet that do not have a color and add it to the list of report to retrieve. So in case that user wants to create a new sheet that do not need to be retrieved, paint the sheet tab with a color, as the home, ad hoc, and admin sheets are, and they will not be included in the list. If, for example, a new sheet is created and the tab is not set to a color, when the fifth macro is executed, the new sheet will be displayed in the list of report to retrieve. To submit or retrieve information, just check the checkbox of the sheet that needs to be retrieved and submit, execute the macro, answer the macro message options, and the information will be submitted or retrieved. The most important point for this macro is understanding how the ad hoc works. The macro will take the dimension from the report to retrieve. If one of the dimensions is not on the report, it will look at the default setting on the admin sheet. In the following example, all the dimensions but account, year, and period will be taken from the admin sheet. There are some limitations. There needs to be at least one dimension on the row and the column. There should be at least one dimension taken from admin sheet. If there are 2 members with the same name in 2 different dimensions, the macro will stop to request which dimension the user is referring, so try not to use the same member name for 2 different dimensions. When the entity dimension is on the sheet, use the parent entity point and the entity or add the ACP top to avoid the request for the system to identify which of the dimension is in the sheet. In case of adding a description of a member, add a point after the description to avoid issues with the ad hoc. The numeric dimension members need to be formatted as a text. Some SmartView versions have issues otherwise. To convert a number into text, use the text function or a single quotation mark before the member name. If the user copy the sheet to a new sheet and create an ad hoc and there are errors, the macro will not be able to retrieve or submit information, so test it out to avoid issues. To create an ad hoc query, connect to the application. The system will require credentials to restrict the access from the user. To enable a sheet to use an ad hoc query, go to Active Connection and select the connection. A new ribbon will be enabled to control the ad hoc settings. The ad hoc can be generated adding the dimension to the sheet or retrieving the default query, where account will be in the row and periods in the column. The zoom-in can be used to see the children, all level, or the base level of a member. The zoom-out can be used to see the parent member of the selected member. The keep only will allow to keep only the member selected. The remove only will allow to delete the member selected. The member selector will enable to look a specific member, drilling down or looking for the member. It is possible to add a description of the member to simplify the search. Check the member and move them to the selector pane. After the members are selected, retrieve the information. If a member is not in the sheet, it will be on the point of view. Only one member per dimension can be selected on point of view. The SmartView option will change how the program behaves. The general options will allow to change the global options, such as enabling the double click to zoom in and to zoom out, enable navigation with no data to improve performance when user only needs to navigate with the metadata. The data option will enable to set the suppression setting that will be useful when zooming for details to see only the information that have data. The replacement option will let the user set how the no data, no access, and invalid will be shown. For example, it is possible to change the missing option for numeric 0. The submit 0 option will enable the upload of zeros on the database, which is important if the user makes a mistake on a combination and needs to clear the information to upload the correct one. In the member option, on the member retention, we tell to the system what to do during zoom in with the member that the user selects. The member name display will tell the system how to show the member with or without description. The formatting and cell style option will tell the system how to format the added query. As each user can have different settings for this option, using another query as a report is not recommendable because the format can be lost depending on the user setting. This template will allow the formatting as the other query is created in a new sheet. If the report needs to submit information, all the dimensions need to be on base members. Remember to change the log settings for the cells that the user will need to change, as the macro will automatically protect the sheet with Sofia Morelli password. With this, we finalize this chapter. We will see each other on the next one.